There have been many of my students that have made me feel proud and gave meaning to my teaching. One such student is Jason. Jason's parents signed him up at my school back in the late 90s. He was about 12 years old and was morbidly obese. He was also painfully shy and had no self-esteem. They had previously assigned him up for a half dozen fitness and sports classes, but Jason never stuck with them. My approach to teaching is that I treat all students equally, and I never set goals I know they cannot reach. I always told my students they are not learning my style of Kung Fu, but that they must create their own style, what suits their body type and personality. I also judge my students on the effort they make rather than the results. During the warm-up at the beginning of each class, we would run through the regular calisthenics, jumping jacks, crunches, push-ups, etc. I would say, "Okay, everybody give me 10 push-ups." And I would see that Jason could barely do 5. I would walk around the class correcting students on their form, and when I got to Jason, I would say, "Well, you did 5 push-ups, and that was pretty good. Next week, you'll be able to do 6 push-ups." Jason was so shy, he would never speak. I couldn't tell if he was enjoying the class or not. I thought he would drop out, but Jason showed up for every class. A few months later, his parents came into my office and asked to speak with me. I immediately thought something was wrong, and I asked them if everything was okay with Jason. They said yes, and that they wanted to come in and personally thank me for teaching Jason, that he loves the classes, and that he's on a diet and training every day, and it's all thanks to me. Well, I was flattered, but I didn't really do anything special for Jason, which I explained to his parents. His dad said to me, "You know what Jason told us? That you never called him fat. All the other athletic and fitness coaches would continually remind Jason how fat he was, and you never mentioned it once." Well, dear listeners, I can tell you why I never called Jason fat. Because when I was 12, I was just like him, obese, awkwardly shy, and zero self-esteem. I remember the unrelenting teasing I received from the other kids because I was so fat. Not a day went by that a dozen people or more would remind me that I was a fatso. The subject of my fatness would inevitably come up in every conversation I had with people. I knew the last thing Jason needed was to have yet another person tell him he was fat. A year later, I had to close the club, and I moved once again to China, and I lost touch with most of my students. Fast forward 10 years. I'm living in Ventura, California, and I get an email from Jason. "Do you remember me? I was your student, and I will be going to LA for a personal trainer convention, and I want to rent a car and drive up and see you." I wrote back, "Sure, I remember you, and you are welcome to drive up for the day, but one caveat. You have to bicycle up into the mountains with me, and we can talk there." Those that know me know that if you want to meet me, we have to be outdoors. Come out in a canoe with me, or go on a bicycle ride, or at the very least, a walk in the park. But sitting in a coffee shop is not my style. A month later, Jason shows up, and I would have never recognized him. He was lean and cut like a bodybuilder, and he wasn't shy anymore. He was working as a personal trainer. I felt so proud for him. We went into town and he rented a bicycle, and we took the Ventura River Trail to my favorite secret place, the old abandoned Foster Bowl. This was an outdoor amphitheater built in the 1920s, shrouded under the broad branches of old oak trees. No one ever went there. I liked training on the stage in the deserted ruin that reminded me of a Roman amphitheater. I loved it, but I could see why some people found the place a little spooky. We sat on the steps and had a good talk. Then there was some commotion in the bushes that surrounded the theater. Jason looked worried and asked, "What's that?" I could see he was scared. I told him probably some squirrels. If it was a mountain lion, you wouldn't hear anything. I told him a month earlier I was up there alone and I saw 2 mountain lions up on the side of the hill overlooking the bowl. They didn't make a sound. I have a highly tuned instinct, and I just knew something was up there, and when I scanned the area, sure enough, I saw the mountain lions. I admit I was concerned at the time because 3 months earlier, a mountain lion had killed 2 bicyclists and badly mauled a third, not 10 miles away. Now Jason was getting really nervous and said, "Where are we? How do we get back?" I said, "The same way we came." Then he told me he's no good with directions and that he gets lost easily. Going into my Jedi Master mode, I told him warriors do not get lost and they don't get spooked by noises in the bushes. I said we were going to start a new form of training right then and there. I told him, "You have to find your own way back into town. I will follow an hour later, and if I come across your bloody corpse along the trail, I will inform your parents." Yeah, I'm a stinker like that. Well, Jason found his way back to town without incident. Now fast forward another 10 years. I am in Toronto and I get an email from Jason. He heard I was back in town and could he come and visit me again. I said, "Sure, why don't you come down to the Humber Bay Park where I teach Kung Fu in the park and join the class." Now Humber Bay Park is fairly large with many trails, streams, and ponds. I have given precise instructions to many people on where I will be teaching, and they all got lost trying to find me the first time. Jason asked me where in the park I will be, and I told him, "You will just have to figure it out. I can give you a hint. I'll be near a wooden pyramid." Like I said, I can be a stinker like that. The next week, Jason shows up at the park in time for class. He told me that after his experience with me in California, upon returning to Canada, he followed my advice and took an orienteering course to learn how to read a map and use a compass. He also took some outdoor courses and was now a hiker and camper. He had no difficulty finding me in the park, and he was no longer spooked by noises in the bushes. I couldn't have been prouder of Jason if he was my own son.